Is The Walking Dead role-playing game secretly an excellent role-playing game, and even better, excellent solo game? Let's break it down. Welcome back to the Sacred Chair, and I'm excited to talk about the Walking Dead universe role-playing game. It initially feels like a cash grab. I've broken my no IPs rule like 3 times this year, and I'm continuing to break it. Is it worth it? I think so. Let's get right into talking about the book and maybe explaining why I'm acting a little different. I can't help but think, I'm probably the only person thinking this, Turk from the Grouch Couch is reviewing Dragonbane. I am reviewing The Walking Dead. It feels like a Freaky Friday situation, and I can't help but make a joke out of it. But yeah, actually I should add him. I'm gonna add him right now to my solo play inspirations because I've just been digging his stuff. Turk of the Grouch Couch, check him out. Walking Dead universe. Let's take a damn look, shall we? First of all, I love when books do this. Why doesn't every book do this? Like, use this portion for something cool. Does it in the front, does it in the back. Love it. Specifically Georgia. Let's jump right into the book itself. The book, as you may be noticing on both cameras here. Yep, we got both. It's not that thick. And I'll be honest with you, that was my initial reaction. Oh, this book's a bit thinner than the other Free League games that I typically purchase. Did I get a good value? And then I remembered, it's not about how big the book is, despite like your initial feelings. But the actual build of the book is excellent, as all of their products are. And as you'll see as we go through it, the layout and the art is also excellent. Excellent. As far as the big boy books, Free League does some of the best work with the dual column, like very professional layout, which I'll be honest with you, not really my jam. I prefer more of the indie stuff, but for what this is, Free League's probably doing it the best. Monty Cook maybe as well. Also excellent. This game is a lot better than I expected it to be, and I intend to steal stuff from it, which is an excellent surprise. So these principles of the game I feel like are worth mentioning. I thought these were really cool and kind of speak to the style of the game. Do whatever it takes to survive. Death is inescapable. You are never safe. You are not alone. You are telling a story, and fiction comes first. If you're familiar with Year Zero engine and a lot of Free League games, pushing and stress, very similar here. They refer to like pushing a roll is basically a re-roll, which adds stress dice to your pool, and then if you roll a 1 on those, that's like you're messing up, and that is basically like a fumble. There's fumble rolls for that. It's a crit fail, so to speak. They do go into the background a little bit, and I'm actually surprised how they dive into it more than I would have expected with this whole like wildfire virus situation. I've never dug into the comics, but I am one of the few people that I know that have watched like the whole show. It got painful. It did. I probably like mentally checked out around the same time everybody else did, but I pressed through because I felt like I was already too committed. I do like how they break down walkers, and I'm just gonna go ahead and say it now because I think this the whole way through, and I'll continue to think it as they talk about the needs of the walkers in the world. I can't help but think about how easy it would be to play like The Last of Us with this book, with just a simple reskinning and maybe some minor tweaks. The walkers are single-minded, focused on just feeding. They don't need to feed. They can get hurt, maimed, whatever, decapitated, but until you destroy their brain, they can keep going. Everyone's already infected. Someone dying and turning could take varying degrees of time. The walkers behave in different ways, and they have poor eyesight, but they can smell and hear real good. And you can be pretty much anywhere, but by default it's in the United States. Kind of going to people, but the only thing to really take away from that, which, I mean, you know what, we're gonna dive into it right here. Here's how you create a character. You choose an archetype, a name, an issue, drive, distribute your points, which if you're doing solo play, you could do more. Of course, choose a talent, choose your gear, relationship, anchors, and your starting haven. Exciting stuff. Now, the attributes in this game is gonna be strength, agility, wits, and empathy. But this is what I would consider the 4 core aspects of any role-playing game, in my humble opinion. If I were to boil it down to its most base concepts, it's this. Maybe different names, but you get the point. Now, your drive. Your drive is what got you through the apocalypse to begin with. Depending on where you want to play the game, you can play it like the zombie apocalypse is just now breaking out and there's fresh zombies around and people are a little soft at this time, or a lot of time has gone by and you've got a hardened situation where there are factions in place and people are getting better at surviving. A lot of the softer folk have already been they gone, or they're not gone and they're undead. They're the Walking Dead. Dun dun. Your drive is basically that's your grit. That's what helped you survive to the point that you're at now. Anchors, very interesting concept. I thought that was really cool, and it kind of goes hand in hand with stress. So this game, as you'd imagine, is all about managing stress, but you also have people that relieve stress. Who that go-to is for you, you get to determine that, and that helps with character building and makes for some really cool moments. Now, that also leads into breaking points. So like, say for example, something happens to your anchor, your character breaks down, bad things happen, you become overwhelmed, lose drive, and become shattered. And as you would imagine, doing things like talking to dead people and being paranoid, not good in a zombie apocalypse. Your haven, which there's more haven stuff later. This is a starting haven. What I love about havens is that A, you start with it, and B, this is like in a world where everything is like dangerous, threat level 1 or higher. This is a threat level 0. This is your safe place that you can go to, and because it's just a starting place, there's capacity limits, defense limits, and this adds, not only is this a cool mechanic, but it adds additional story too, because now like a lot of these things are saying like reliance on food source that will become depleted, relies on food runs, reliance on a lot of food, target for plunderers. This gives you more like story hooks built into them. I love that. These are your archetypes: criminal, doctor, farmer, homemaker, kid, law enforcer, the nobody, the outcast, the politician, the preacher, the scientist, the soldier. Dun-dun, 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 like a DMX song. Skills and talents. Failing tests are bad, of course. How you succeed in this game is probably worth mentioning. You roll a 6. You're basically getting a dice pool system, and it's gonna go through that here somewhere soon. But basically your skills and your attributes get added together. You take that mini d6, you roll them up, and as many 6s you get, that's how many successes you have. Here's the skill list. I mentioned the stress dice earlier, so you could do, for example, like let's say I have a dice pool where like my ranged combat is 3, and then what was it, dexterity or agility, that adds another 1, so that's 4 dice, and then maybe I have 1 stress dice, that's gonna be this red guy, you want it to be a different color, you roll those, and I have 0 successes, and this didn't do anything either. But let's say this was a 1, I messed up. Something bad is happening there. Let's say I have a 6 here, that's a single success. So you get the idea. The idea with stress is that it heightens your ability to get things done, just like I would say in real life. But you also have a high probability of making things worse too because of that, which feels pretty thematic. I like that. Talents. Talents are cool. They're okay. They're okay. I feel like the talents in this game are... usually this is like the centerpiece for character creation in a lot of games, but I feel like for the most part they really just give you like a +1 here, a +2 there, add additional die pool here when you're doing this thing. And sometimes it's very specific stuff, and sometimes it's kind of general stuff. But whatever, I mean, it's okay. It's okay. I'll be honest with you, that's not even the stuff. Everything that we've covered so far isn't even like the best stuff. Not even close. Duels, this is cool. It's not how you're gonna do it in solo play, but it's an opposed roll with, you know, rolling your dice pools, and you just have a chart for who has the most successes, basically, and you figure out who does what. And this is for human-on-human violence. But when you get into the brawls are pretty interesting because you have brawl phases. I'm curious to see how that would play out. Seems cool, but basically, like, everyone's action takes place at a certain time in the brawl phases, and taking cover is the first one. Range combat's the second one. Close combat's the third one. So I think that's pretty cool because it does give you a chance to be tactical. It's not like, you know, time freezes and I can just shoot this dude before he is able to take cover, if that's what he wants to do. Damage and healing. This is actually a neat thing I want to mention. Armor. If I have, like, my armor level's 4, I would roll 4 d6s, and I believe it's however many d6s. Hey, I actually rolled one. However many d6s, I reduce that much damage, which is pretty sweet. But you also have penalties, and the penalties go to stealth, I think? Mobility. Yeah, so you have less mobility. Very cool. Critical injuries, very neat. This game has a surprising amount of tables, which we love. We love tables. We love tables here at the Sacred Chair. Not really, though. I'm a slut for tables. So, gear, great. The gear obviously is going to modify your dice pools. Fighting the dead. I want to get to this. So, threat levels. You have your various threat levels here, 0 through 6. The higher the number, the worse it is. As things happen, let's say you drop a bottle, maybe you trip, you fall, maybe you catch something on fire, that can change the threat level. Zombies are all around all the time with the exception of your haven, kind of. As things happen, that threat level can go up and down depending on, like, your actions. Now, I think they're going to talk about it soon, maybe. There's some options for reducing the threat level, more tables for walker attacks, which I think is really cool. Fighting a swarm. Love this. Zombies are abstracted. That's very neat. I think that essentially what you do for this is you're going to do your normal rolls. So if the threat level's 3 or lower and the swarm is 3 or lower and you get a success, then that threat level goes down, for example. And this kind of goes into more detail and it gives you some options for, like, swarm attacks, depending on the threat level of that swarm in that situation. It's very interesting. This is me looking at it in excitement, having not gone through it yet, but I look forward to it. Home and away. This is more haven stuff, which is pretty cool. You obviously want to think about things like ammo and food, even though some of that stuff is technically abstracted. Teaching additional survivors examples of havens, going on runs, another important part of the game, and then running the game, which, I mean, this stuff, although cool, not really what we care about right now, with the exception of NPC factions. I love factions, and this game has a ton of tables for factions and the different stuff that the factions can be doing, which I love that. They give some examples as well and some stuff that could go down. Faction encounters, challenge lists. Like this game really spirals with the amount of, like, mechanical nuance that is also intertwined with the theme of the game, and the best games do that very well. Very well. Travel with tables. We love that. We love that. And then what are these tables here? Random events. Very cool, very cool. NPC encounters, the wilderness. More NPC encounters, NPCs and animals. Survival mode scenarios, which is really just like a one-shot. This is a campaign setup, which we don't really care about for this, but the appendix. Now this is where we start to get into the stuff that I'm like super excited about. So you get to like roll tables for walkers, which is cool. Different type of walker wounds, empty rooms, random locations. Oh my goodness, look at these tables. Non-player characters. Great. The only thing this seems to be missing is names. Is it weird to have modern day names? And it, like, are you supposed to just remember like, oh, Mike and then Steve and then Jared and Esmeralda? Like, okay, sure. Scavenging. Solo play. We got a solid like 10 pages of solo play, which is pretty decent. We've got our luck oracle, which, okay, you know, that's pretty standard stuff. It does give you some background for tweaking the game for a solo survivor. Theme oracles tied to The Walking Dead specifically, love it. Messing up oracle, also love it. Progress clocks, of course, why not? NPC survivors creation, yes. Oh, rumor clocks, that's very interesting. A rumor is considered to be old news whenever that's filled. Now, this is the relationship stuff for solo that I thought was pretty interesting. With a relationships table. I love that. That is so cool. This feels... I get a lot of like Blades in the Dark vibes from this game. There's a lot of like similarities for things I think are really useful for solo play. Haven creation, faction creation. There's more rumors, issues, and challenges. Exploring buildings in solo with appropriate tables. I like this solo session structure. Anytime there's like some guidance for structuring a solo play, that's always handy. Random threat levels, NPC runs, player facing opposed role, which, you know, is really just kind of like the default of what you would do, and some solo combat. Outnumbered attacks, player facing chases, soloing the swarm, tables for all of that, and then this last little bit of the end of the road. And this is really just like the end of the story, so to speak. And then you, of course, have like some character sheet type stuff in the back and your index. All in all, really cool book. I am pleasantly surprised by how good this book is. And I do appreciate people like Turk that kind of went to bat for the game. He even did a solo play for The Walking Dead as well to kind of give you a feel. And I was overlooking this game, and shame on me, because it seems interesting. I can't help but think about a video game called State of Decay that I had a ton of fun with. I feel like solo play with this could be very similar to the State of Decay video game. If you don't know, it's like XCOM. If you don't know what XCOM, it's a little different from XCOM. But if you're not aware of both of those games, essentially there's like a home base, you make the base better, you go out on runs, but you're not just like one character, you're kind of like everyone in the Haven in this case, kind of working towards the greater good. And whenever you lose someone in the game, you lose that person's done. I feel like that's kind of how solo play for this would be for me, where the solo play is bigger than just the singular player. Maybe I'll focus on one, but I can always just like become one of the other players that I've been sending on NPC runs if something were to happen. Because I have no problem leaning into like the dark and the ghastly and my character dying, especially in this game. I'm not gonna try and like save them, especially here. I think it could actually add to it as I then play another character that like I'm already familiar with through like NPCs and interactions and anchors and stuff. I told myself that would be short. I think that was a little longer than I intended it to be. Let me know your thoughts. Do you have any experience with the Walking Dead role-playing game? Did you finish the show? Do you read the comics? I'm curious. Let me know in the comments down below. And until next time, I'll see you in the next one. Roll on that, weirdos. See ya!